What is up, everybody? Stacey Blackwood here from Tide Talk Live. We have kind of transferred over from Tide Talk Podcast to Tide Talk Live. This is not a live episode, but we're going to be try to do more live episodes here on our YouTube channel, trying to kind of rebrand what we're doing here at Tide Talk, and we're certainly appreciative of everybody that's already tuned in. To our show before, or maybe if you're new, we really appreciate that. And if you are new and you're not already, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, give this video a thumbs up. In this video, me and my buddy Jake are going to be looking at the 2022 Alabama football schedule. All right, Jake, I got that long intro out of the way. Just wanted to kind of get everybody up to speed.
Yeah,
I'm with Jake Thomas, my co-host. Jake, how's it going, buddy?
doing good, man. As always, I know you was unfortunate you had to work, but the weekend went by in like 30 minutes, like always. So, now we got to get ready for the work week again. But other than that, I'm good, brother. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. Excited about kind of the rebranding we're doing here.
Yeah.
A lot to look forward to. We're so close to our goal of 1,000 subscribers, Jake, and that's really going to turn the corner for us here at Tide Talk. So we're excited about that. We're less than 200 subscribers away. So we're really trying to reach that goal. And if you're not already, like I mentioned, just hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. We would greatly appreciate that. But like I mentioned, we're going to talk for really just a few minutes about this 2022 Alabama football schedule. And we're going to put that up on the screen here in just a minute. But I do want to hear from you guys as always. So jump in the comment section and let us know if you think Alabama is going to go undefeated in the two regular season. Why for yes and for no? Like I said, we want to hear from you guys there in the comment section, and we're going to be talking about what we think is going to happen here this next season for the Crimson Tide, and we're really excited about the season. Trying to bring the schedule up now and to kind of look at this and go over it. Jake, obviously 9-3 opening up with Utah State. It's not like previous years under Saban where you open up against a Power 5 opponent that's a really good ball club. This year it's Utah State. Nothing against Utah State, but it's not like Florida State was a few years ago, or
Right.
Wisconsin, or Virginia Tech, or some of those big games that Alabama's opened up in the past under Nick Saban. But Utah State, Jake, not going to waste a lot of time on that. I think both of us are going to agree that that's probably a dub for Alabama. But
hmm
just what are you going to be looking for mostly as Alabama starts the season, and knowing what they have coming up the week after?
Minimizing mistakes early. We're going to have three new offensive linemen potentially. More than likely, yeah, we will. But see how they gel together. Defensively, it's pretty much stacked. Interesting to see how the defensive line, how they rotate guys in and out, because there's a lot of guys that they have that they can bring in and pretty much keep everybody fresh. And that not just this game, but moving forward throughout the season. And I think that might be a big key. How the season goes is how good and how deep we are at defensive line to keep guys fresh.
Yeah, no doubt. It's about staying healthy in that game one. Like
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned, you said something to start is just mistake free football, playing
Yeah.
sound fundamental football. That's not always the case in your opening game. So if Alabama can come out strong in that aspect, Alabama should have no problem rolling over Utah State. And by the way, little side note: former Alabama receiver Xavier Williams is on Utah State's team. So
Yeah.
a little interesting fact there. So that'll be something to look forward to. And another program that has some former Alabama players, it's up
Yeah.
next, and former Alabama coaches as well. That's the second game of the season, traveling to Texas to take on the Texas Longhorns. Jake, what do you think about that matchup?
I'm sure, and I know Texas and Texas fans has this mark because I mean, if you beat Alabama early, that pretty much sets your program off for how the season can go. And I mean, it's going to be a good game, but overall, I think depth wise, takes effect. Alabama is a little bit too deep for Texas starting, getting the fourth quarter and all that. And how is Texas offensive line? How are they going to hold up against that defensive front that Alabama is fishing to bring in? Because no offense to any of the Big 12 guys, but they do not have a edge rusher or edge rushers, I should say, as in Will Anderson and Dallas Turner. So this is going to be something very new. Texas is going to have to try and stop, and nobody has been able to stop them two guys yet.
Yeah, that's obviously a great matchup, and you know that Steve Sarkisian is going to be throwing everything he can at Nick Saban in that ball game, and Pete Golden there. So that's going to be a fun matchup because Steve Sarkisian is a great offensive mind. They have some weapons there on offense. Xavier Worthy is one of the best receivers in the country. They brought in Jaleel Billingsley from Alabama. If the good Jaleel shows up, he's one of the best tight ends in the
Oh
country.
yeah,
Their quarterback battle is going to be interesting. Is it going to be Quinn Ewers, the transfer from Ohio State, who is of course a Texas native? So there's a lot that Texas has on offense. They have one of the best running backs in Juwan Robinson in the country. You can make that argument he is the best running back in the country. So they have some offensive firepower. So how is Pete Golden and Nick Saban going to prepare for that Texas offense? But I'm with you. I'm not sure what Texas can do defensively to slow down Bryce Young and company.
no,
So Alabama should win that game. It's probably going to be a slight shootout. Texas may get into the high 20s and Alabama's in the low 40s or so. Just kind of my early thoughts there. And as the summer goes along, we're going to look more closely at each of these games.
yeah.
But just kind of wanted to get a brief synopsis of the schedule out. And then the next week, Jake, we can kind of the next 2 weeks, UL Monroe and then Vanderbilt at home. Just really two cupcakes there. Shouldn't be no problem for Nick Saban and company. Anything you want to add on those two matchups?
Just like you mentioned in the Utah State game, those two games we can't afford injuries, especially to a big time player. So again, injury free and mistake free football in those 2 weeks would be outstanding.
Yeah, and then you look, Jake. The next few weeks is pretty tough stretch for Alabama. The toughest part of their schedule, where they head to Arkansas the first weekend of October, and then they host Texas A&M. So then they're going to be that's rounding out the first half of their season, Jake. So back to back games against two really good programs. Of course, Texas A&M beat Alabama last year, and Arkansas really gave Alabama fits in 2021 as well. What's your thoughts on those two matchups?
Arkansas is definitely on the up and up. We have said time and time again on how we love Sam Pittman as a coach, and he's done a lot with that program. Pretty much bringing Arkansas out of the pits of the SEC bottom and brought them
Right.
back to Providence. But I still think Alabama can go up there. They may struggle early. They have Arkansas is bringing back the quarterback who's slipping my mind right now. Uh,
KJ Jefferson.
KJ Jefferson. But I don't remember who they're bringing back. Wide receiver wise because
Well,
they
they got a
lose.
transfer from Oklahoma, Jordan Hazelwood. So
Yeah,
that they
that's
they
right.
got they got some talent there out wide. It's not
Yeah,
Traylon Burks, but they got some
right.
talent.
Yeah, Burks was their go-to, and he dominated us in that game
Yeah,
last year.
yeah.
So I think we'll be all right there. The A&M game, I'm sure Saban don't like looking ahead, but that's one that everybody's going to have their eyes on because that's revenge. They come into Bryant Denny and that stadium that night, or I'm hoping it's a night game. It's going to be loud, and I expect them boys to get after it. And we'll see how that $31 million defensive front holds up, for A&M in that
Yeah,
game.
like you said, it's a revenge game for Nick Saban in Alabama, and I expect Alabama to come out firing on all cylinders in that contest. And I'm with you. I think Alabama wins both games,
Yeah.
but the Arkansas game is going to be tough because Arkansas is going to fight with every part of their body. So that's
Oh
going to be
yeah.
it's going to be a dog fight. But and then Alabama travels to Tennessee there on the third Saturday in October, Jake, and that's not going to be an easy matchup. Hendon Hooker returns as the quarterback for the Vols, one of the better quarterbacks in the country. They're going to throw the ball around the yard. They're going to have an explosive offense, but their defense is still suspect, Jake. They don't have the
Mhm.
dudes on that side of the ball yet. They don't have the depth there. So probably not their year to maybe upset Alabama. But they're really trending in the right direction under Josh Heupel.
Oh, absolutely. And I may upset some Georgia fans here, but Hendon Hooker's probably the best quarterback on the eastern side,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
And I know Spencer Rattler's coming in. I wasn't really impressed with him. He's coming in South Carolina. I'm not really impressed, haven't been really impressed with him, but Hendon Hooker is a legit guy.
He's certainly the most talented guy on that side
Abs-
of the division.
Absolutely.
Best is kind of a relative term, but as far as talent goes, I would say that there's no question about it that Hendon Hooker certainly has the most upside or potential. If you're looking, transitioning to the next level, him and
Yep.
Spencer Rattler
Absolutely.
and
And
Will Levis from Kentucky.
right. And that game, I hope Alabama can come out and comes out firing. don't have a let up because I don't see us losing this game. But if we're down at halftime and yeah, it's going to get that stadium riled up, I more than likely will assume this will be a night game because it seems like every time we go up there, it's a night game. So it's going to get rowdy if they're in it at halftime, and we got to calm that stadium down, at half and get up to a big lead by
Yeah.
then.
Yeah, and next Alabama has Mississippi State, Jake, and I just don't see how Mississippi State can keep up with Alabama for whatever reason. Mike Leach's offense does not work against the against the Tide. He's pretty
Yeah,
much shut them out the last two seasons, and it will probably won't be much different here in 2022. Then Alabama goes to LSU, Jake, and you never know with LSU. Brian Kelly's now the head coach. What's this team going to look like? That's what the team maybe in the SEC that I really am not sure about. I don't know what to think
I
about the
know.
LSU Tigers.
Yeah, they're going to be a mystery team. I think it's going to take Brian Kelly a few years to get that program back to where it was. They just lost a lot of guys in the transfer portal last couple of years. Um, but I mean, it's at LSU, Baton Rouge at night is absolutely a menace to play in. And I think our boys they got to come out with a mindset that it's going to be loud, and they got to come out and play. I think they get it done. Going back to the Mississippi State game, a little plug here, but I'm actually planning on going to that game. So if anybody, I'm a lot of people is going to be there, so we plan on making the trip down. That is about, I think that's a few days before our anniversary, and or after our anniversary, my bad. And so we're going to do that as our anniversary trip. So y'all come out and see me.
There you go. All right, then Jake, one of the toughest games of the year at Ole Miss there on November 12th. Lane Kiffin and company, not going to be easy. Is it going to be Jackson Dart? Is it going to be Luke Altmaier? Who's the quarterback at Ole Miss? I don't think it really matters. I think both guys are talented, and we all know that Lane Kiffin can call plays offensively. So it's going to be tough to slow down that Rebel offense. But Alabama is we saw it this last season in 2021 when Pete Golden has his guys playing the right way, that
Mhm.
defense can shut down anybody, and it really held that Matt Corral and that Ole Miss offense in check. And I think that Nick Saban and Alabama are really kind of learning and developing into a team that's more prepared for that type of offense.
Absolutely. And this game right here, you look at it, and I haven't really looked much at the Ole Miss schedule, but both of these teams could be undefeated coming into this game, and
Hmm.
it could all. I mean, this could be the fight for the West right here. And I expect a dog fight, like you said. Lane Kiffin, he's going to throw everything he has at Alabama. He went for it on 4th 25 last year. He might go for 4th and 55 this year. I mean, he don't care. He wants to beat Alabama so bad, and he knows field goals is not going to do it. So he's going to try to attack that end zone each and every time he has the ball. So we've got to have our guys ready.
Yeah. Yeah, then Alabama finishes the regular season with Austin P at home and Auburn at home. Uh, Obviously, Austin P is going to be a dub. I mean, me and you
Mhm.
could roll out there starting, and Alabama would probably still find a way to win.
Right.
Then Alabama hosts Auburn, Jake, in the Iron Bowl there around Thanksgiving. And, this Auburn team is also a team that has a lot of question marks, a lot like LSU. What are you going to get from this team? I'm just with all the turmoil that happened with Brian Harson this off season. What does this team look like in 2022? So that game is really tricky to me. It's
Mhm.
obviously a rival game. You never know what happens to those games. I mean, Auburn gave Alabama all they wanted this past season in Jordan Hare, but it's always seemed a little different in Tuscaloosa. And I just feel like Alabama's too strong right now for what Auburn has from a dude's perspective.
Absolutely, and like you mentioned, that turmoil, it almost sunk that program to me. It feels like, and the biggest question mark coming in for Auburn is who is going to be their quarterback. I mean, it's going to be
Yeah,
T.J. Finley, is going to be the guy that's coming
Zach
in,
Calzada.
Zach Calzada. I think they also got a guy from Oregon. I think a guy
Yeah,
from Oregon
yeah,
transferred. So
yeah.
you
Robbie
know
Ashford.
Robbie Ashford. So
He's
there's
from
three.
Hoover. He played at Hoover High
Hoover.
School.
That's right. So there's got three guys, to throw out there. Now Calzada does have the win against Alabama when he was at A&M, but I mean, he played a Steven S. Garcia esque game, and I don't see him doing that again this year, especially in Tuscaloosa. So I just don't know what to think about this Auburn team. Like you mentioned, it's how are they going to be? Are they going to be a
Right.
6-win team? I don't know. I mean, they
No.
could be setting at 4-7 at the end of the year.
But Auburn's always one of those programs when you
Oh
think
yeah.
they're down and out, they always rally to have a really good season. So I'm
Hmm.
kind of slow in my roll on saying they're going to be 3-9, but
I know.
it's going to be interesting season. They're down on the plains. But Jake, real quick before we kind of wind things down, as you look at this schedule, how would you rate? What's the toughest game of the year in your opinion?
Man, that's a good question. There's a lot, we go to a lot of good teams this year. I mean, at Arkansas is going to be tough. At Tennessee is always tough. At LSU, even though they may be kind of a rebuilding year, they're going to be tough. So there's a lot there to choose from. But I in Texas, of course, but I think early in the year it's going to we need. I think it's going to be Texas because we got to get out of the gate early there. And I mean, it's the second week of the season. We need to have our offensive line set. We need to have those guys gelling. And Bryce Young, who's going to be his favorite target this year? That's another key that I'm looking for. Is it going to be Jermaine Burton, or is it going to be somebody else that comes up that has not been mentioned a lot? So, there's a lot to play in there. But I think Texas is going to be a struggle early, and then I think always going down the Baton Rouge is going to be tough as well.
Yeah, it's hard not to agree with you on the Texas part just because of where it's at on the schedule. Like you mentioned, it's the second game of the year.
Hmm.
Alabama's still trying to figure out who they are, just like Texas is. But I
Right.
think if Alabama plays Texas, around uh, end of October, it might be a little
Oh yeah.
different than what it is the second game of the year. But
Hmm.
I'm with you there. I look at that Arkansas game. They're a tough team. Ole Miss is going to be tough. Tennessee's going to be tough. There's
Hmm.
not a road game where you're like, "Yeah, I feel 100% confident Alabama's gonna win that game."
No.
There's not one,
Mm-mm. There's
and
not.
that's a rarity. I mean, the Alabama's road schedule has to be one of the toughest road schedules in the country. I don't know if there's somebody out there analytically that can kinda tell us that, but, just looking at it, it's hard to, find a tougher, road schedule than what Alabama has in 2022, but, I'm with you. I think
Right.
I'm gonna go with Texas right now, then I would probably
Yeah.
go with Arkansas,
Hmm.
then Ole Miss, and then Tennessee. But all of the road games, basically, and then it'd be Texas A&M. But uh,
Yeah.
there's really outside of the group of five teams that Alabama plays and Vanderbilt, there's really no just cupcakes.
Hmm.
Um, so it's going to be an interesting season for Alabama. And like we said, we're going to have a more in-depth discussion, moving forward throughout the summer months, talking about this 2022 Alabama schedule. But we wanted to kind of get this real quick episode out to discuss the season as a whole as we're here in the off season and really looking forward to football, Jake. I can't wait for it to get
Yeah.
here.
I know it. A-Day game gave me a little insight. I'm like, man, come on. And summer, I don't want to summer away, but my gosh, I'm ready for some football.
No doubt.
And I will say, I have finally started watching some of the Birmingham Stallions. So that's kind of like kind of helped a little bit. And they're undefeated right now. They're our local USFL team, but it's still not college football. There's nothing out there that can beat college football in my mind.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. But hey, that's going to wrap this episode up. Really appreciate everybody tuning in. Like I mentioned earlier, we want to hear from you guys. Do you think Alabama finishes the 2022 regular season undefeated? Y for yes or N for no. If you're not already, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up. But if you don't have anything else to add, Jake, that's going to wrap this episode up. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Jake, enjoyed it, buddy. Can't wait to
Yeah,
get back on here to talk more Alabama football as we move forward through the offseason.
and it's going to be live too. Like we said, we're going to move forward, try to do more live. So that's why we rebranded, baby. So let's get to it.
Yep, ready for it. Excited about it. All right, man. I'm going to head out now. Until next time, roll tide.
Roll Tide.